Good afternoon, welcome especially to Wild Earth and our live broadcast. My name is Mark and I'm happy to be presenting the drive this afternoon along with Scott. And on camera with me this afternoon is Brian. Andrew's with Scott this afternoon, and we're going to try and bring you 3 hours of fantastic viewing here in Greater Kruger National Park in South Africa. Starting off with a couple of Nyala bulls, very big Nyala bull, and a younger bull just behind the wattle. Very majestic antelope. A medium-sized antelope. A lot bigger than our ubiquitous impala, which we have a lot of, and there's a reason for that, which we can get into a little bit later. But quite a remarkable species, this Nyala. There are not many animals, or especially in the antelope world, where the male is such a different looking animal to the female, what we call sexual dimorphism. And I suppose this is the best example of that. We'll try and roll forward using our gravity to take us down the hill so we can get a better view of them. We're approaching a waterhole and there are some other animals around. It'd be nice to see everybody that is here. Slightly younger bull. Gone through quite an important weather change in that we've been through a little bit of cloud and a little bit of strange weather the last few days, but I think we're back to our blue skies and sunny sunsets today. It is 360 degrees of blue this afternoon, lovely warm temperatures. Not as hot as Cape Town, I believe. I think it's rather unusual, being that we are normally the hottest part of the country, no, we're not the hottest part of the country, they're a lot hotter. But in comparison to Cape Town, we're normally a lot hotter than Cape Town. Opposite ends of the country, we're in the northeastern part of South Africa. Cape Town, of course, down in the southwest, experiencing exceptionally bad fires. So just a big shout out to everyone down in the Cape. Sorry to hear about those fires all the way through to the Overstrand, which is Hermanus, Stanford, Pearly Beach. Rather sad to hear about it. However, having said that, the environment that is the Cape is an environment that cannot exist, or rather a diversity and a floral kingdom of exceptional proportions that cannot exist without fire. And although it's a really bad fire, it's just before the wet season in the Cape, so I'm pretty sure it's going to recover. I think it's just quite devastating because of the amount of ground that has been lost, but also because I suppose there have been a few structures and humans have lost a few things. There was a warthog, but it's going away. But I see some buffalo. It's well, with these Nyala moving away from us, let's head down towards the water. There's some buffalo, there's some impala around. In fact, having just watched these Nyala bulls, I've just noticed there are a couple of female Nyala, which we call ewes. A couple of impala ewes just coming out of the bush ahead of us. And you can see how different they are to the bulls. The female with the young male. Oh gosh, look at this buffalo. Don't get up, please don't get up, please don't get up. I don't know what to look at first. The warthog across the dam, the buffalo in the water, or the nyala crossing. Or this is where you have, with the texture of the mud on this buffalo, and if you take a screenshot of that and you play around with black and white, you'll see how nice that sort of shot can be. Because he's just a muddy old man. Dirty old men. Lie around in the mud all day. And that is what gives them their name, really. They're called Dugga boys because Dugga is a local word for mud. In fact, when they're building houses and things, the Nyala's not too sure about this. I suppose that buffalo's quite camouflaged lying in the mud. He's making her a bit nervous. Not that he will do anything or that she will do anything. Look. Bulls. One of them has just noticed her. And can't always be right. Scott has... Okay. I think we can go and see what else we can find down here at the dam. Nice little family of grazing nyala. Thought we might see some different behavior. There might be eventually. Well, now getting down here, I don't know, maybe we're going to disturb a buffalo, so I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to see it from here. We'll go back the other way. Have a look at the other animals around the dam and see what else. I see there is a herd of impala there, and there was a warthog who moved away while we were watching the nyala. Buffalo dotted around the dam. Hot afternoon, everybody's out. It's wonderful because this weather that we've had has kept a lot of animals hidden, so I'm hoping we can have a lovely afternoon this afternoon. And I'm not going to disturb these children too much. There are a lot of them resting in the shade. Just a quick glimpse of some buffalo across the way. Relaxing. I mean, that's really relaxing. That one buffalo, he's
out for the cow.
Out for the cow. Funny, you took the words out of my mouth. Out of my head, maybe. Meatloaf. Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable. Bouncing around a little. No, this isn't the last drive. I know somebody's saying we need to confirm if this is the last drive. Not at all, at all. Till tomorrow and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Until we've still got a good, we're gonna be here, don't worry about it. We'll be here for a few more. We'll be here a while still. Morning children. Sorry. Yes. Being here at Djuma Waterhole, this little bowl just in front of the Impala at the bottom of your screen is like a little grassy bowl. They're on a little grassy knoll, but the little grassy bowl is the original Djuma Waterhole from many years ago, where I think the first camera was set up on that little waterhole. I think it was before this dam was built, which is now called Gowrie Dam, which is why there might be a little bit of confusion over the different names, Djuma Waterhole as opposed to Gowrie Dam. There's a lovely little herd of impala hanging around. Unfortunately, a little bit of work happening at the lodge with a lot of banging. Oh, hang on a second. How's Scotty? There's quite a lot of Nyamazan around Gowrie Dam. We're just looking at both Impala and Nyala, and maybe something else that might be around, if you want to go up onto Philemons. Scott's on his way over there. We found a very special cat this morning. Scott is the other vehicle, they're up and running. We had a bit of a battery problem for some unknown reason. We couldn't get Jigger started earlier. And, well, he's overcome that issue. And he's heading to where he saw Karula this morning. I was going to go and try and find her, but I think, well, since he found her this morning, he's heading over that way. I can see a kudu way on the other side of the dam, but it's now disappeared behind some bushes. So yet another antelope within the vicinity. Now, this weather that we've had recently, we had a number of people asking us questions about where do the animals go when it rains and when the weather turns and when it gets cold. And it's very difficult to say where they go, because then we would be able to find them and view them. I guess they go into thickets and they go into areas where we just can't get to see them. Because on a day like today, when the fun is starting, when the sun is finally coming out and we're sort of returning to the semblance of summer, everything is coming out of the woodwork today. So unfortunately we didn't get that warthog, and although there are kudu on the other side, I can't see them right now. Quite a host of animals here at Djuma Waterhole. I hope maybe we'll be lucky enough to see some others too while we're at it this afternoon. So let's carry on. Let's take a drive down the drainage line towards maybe Twin Dams, Treehouse Dam. Let's see if we can find some other wonderful African animals. So let's go over to Scotty and say hello while I carry on and see what else. Oh, hang on, before we do, sorry, Alex, before we do, we've got a baby hippo in Gowrie Dam. If we can just find out where we can have a quick glimpse of this. And I'm not sure, since we have our camera is not here at the moment, really not sure whether this is one of the little ones that has come in from Buffelshoek Dam, or whether the female that's been sitting around here on her own the last few days. I don't know, it's not that tiny, so maybe it's not a new one. Oh, that's not a great angle, sorry, but yes, hello darling, I hear you. Such a noise. Maybe there's something in that bush. Oh, baby, is that baby? Not that small, so it's not a newborn. But now that the adult has lifted its head, oh sorry, gone to sleep again. The adult is sleeping, so as it is with hippo, they're quite unbelievable. They sleep with their heads underwater, and they don't have to consciously lift their head to breathe. They just can automatically come up to breathe, and then they go back to sleep. Well, they stay asleep. Head just comes up, takes a breath, and doesn't interrupt. Don't know what that starling was shouting about. There's a little sort of tambuti. Anyways, that little one is quite young, but I don't think it's quite a newborn. Just trying to nudge Mom awake. Or even climb on the back. Probably only its back legs touching the ground, its bottom. Anyways, let's go and say hello to Scott. We're going to continue, see what else we can find for you as I head towards Gowrie Dam. Or rather, sorry, Twin Dams.
Good afternoon and welcome to Jigga. Myself and Andrew got out a bit late this afternoon. We had some battery problems, sadly, but we've managed to make a plan for now, and we'll hopefully be able to continue on this afternoon and go and look for Karula, a beautiful female leopard that we managed to see this morning. We know where we left her, and she will hopefully be in a close area. I don't think she'll be in exactly the same spot, but we'll wait and see about that. On the way there, we've come across some tracks on the ground here that I thought I'd like to show you, because we don't often always get tracks in very clear substrates or sand, and you'll notice a very distinctive heart shape, and that is the track of a waterbuck. It was a big male waterbuck, this, and he was heading down the road in the opposite direction to where I'm standing. Anyway, just thought we'd show you that. And we'll now head on. It's not far down this road that we need to go in order to get to the spot where we left Karula this morning. So let's hope it all works out. Let's also hope the car starts. Well, that's a good sign. It's the first time we've switched it off since we managed to power it up earlier. So that's good news. I believe there was lots of general game around Vuyatela Dam or Gowrie Dam, so I'm glad Mark decided to take that route, because it sounded like a wonderful sighting that you had over there. So a good start and good idea on Mark's behalf. It's heated up a little bit this afternoon compared to this morning. The wind's died down quite considerably and it's a little bit warmer, but I really can't emphasize how much better the weather is now than a month ago and further back into summer. At least that's for me. I prefer it when it's a little bit cooler. Excuse me. So I was chatting with Andrew just before we went live, and he was asking what I think the probability is of Karula still being in the same spot. And in my history with leopards, especially in this area where I've viewed the majority of leopards I've ever seen in the Sabi Sands, even in the height of summer on really hot days, they can move during the heat of the day. And very often you'll leave them in one spot in the morning and go back there in the afternoon and not find them. They could only move 100 meters in any direction, and it would still be very difficult to find them in these very thick grassy blocks. And as you can see, there's a lot of hiding places where a leopard can quite easily disappear. So I personally don't think she'll be in exactly the same spot. She also didn't have a kill there. She wasn't full belly. So all those factors lead me to believe that she would have moved off. But we've got to start from the position where we last saw her and then try and establish which direction she headed in from there.
Why would she leave? Because of food or with water or maybe food?
It's a very good question, Andrew, and hard to pinpoint it, but a combination of food, also not staying in the same place for too long. The longer they're in any given place, the more increased likelihood there would be of any other predator like a lion or a hyena or another leopard picking up their scent trail and then catching up to them. So it could be from a safety perspective, or simply that they just get a little bit restless and like to move off every couple of hours. I'm sure it does depend on the specific leopard you are viewing, because they all are slightly different in their habits, but it's difficult to pinpoint why they would move, for example, during the day, whereas lion are a lot less inclined to at this time of the year. So, good question, but hard to pinpoint. Diane in Texas, good afternoon and welcome on board. Diane in Texas has noticed if I do get out the vehicle and follow tracks or examine tracks on the road, I often scrape my foot and make a prominent line or mark on the road, and I'm often doing it not on the track but just behind it. And what that means is if I'm coming back to the tracks later, it'll be easier for me to know where I had the last tracks. It can be really difficult to see them depending on which angle you are looking at and also how high the sun is. So the higher the sun gets, the more difficult it becomes. Therefore, by leaving marks, it helps myself and also other trackers and other game drive vehicles that may come into the area to assist you. So it's simply just making the tracks stand out, and that's a good question and good observation that you've noticed that, Diane. Here's another little thing I'll show you, Diane, which is quite similar to dragging your foot in the sand. If you look down on the road, there's some leaves, branches of leaves, and myself and Brent threw these two little branches down on the road as we left the sighting this morning. So we've told people that about 100 meters from one road junction and this road junction, you will find two leaves of a combretum tree, which all the guides would know, and head south from there. So again, it's just another small indicator to help the guides know exactly where to head off, and you'll notice now that's my cue to head south. Our places we should all be checking as I drive into this area is the top of termite mounds, up in the marula trees, And you're looking for any shape that kind of breaks the ordinary. A head with two little ear tufts poking up, a tail dangling down from the tree. Oh. I'm going to reassess my route here, so bear with me for a second. We were very lucky to relocate on her this morning. We somehow only got the radio message as one of the guides was leaving, so we had no idea that she had been found. And we rushed her, probably got you about 10 minutes afterwards, and the guide actually told us, don't even bother, you'll never find her, it's a very thick bush, but we had to try. And Brent did a great job in following the old vehicle tracks, which is tricky through here. I mean, we've driven through here this morning on this exact pathway, but can you see a path in the grass? And I'm driving directly on our vehicle tracks, so it's very difficult to follow off-road. And Brent did a great job following the tracks, and actually she just popped up right next to us, surprisingly. Oh, sorry Andrew, I didn't see that hole. We're getting very close now. There's a large marula tree that we're approaching just in front of us, and she was lying up at the base of that tree this morning. Wonderful. Andrew has spotted her. I haven't. Is she on the other side of the tree?
No, just on the other side.
Well, isn't that lucky, folks? And I'm so glad my predictions were wrong. I thought she would have already left, but Andrew thankfully came to the rescue and spotted her. She wasn't in exactly the same spot where she was this morning. We'll explain everything once we've got a visual of her. In the shade here, Andrew?
No, it's in the root, just behind you see the green bush, just on the left where the shade's going on the root tree. It's just kind of underneath that one.
Okay.
Drop that catcher. It's moving a slight bit there.
We're not close to her yet.
No, she's just in the bush straight ahead of us. So you see the shadow from the ruler tree?
Yeah.
Then it's like just the bush behind.
Oh, there.
You can just see a bit of her body there.
Okay, all good. Cool. We can't go much closer than this. There you can see her. It's lying down. Almost completely unperturbed by the vehicle, which is so unique for leopard. And what a relief. We've had a seriously tough run with leopard viewing. There hasn't been one seen since I arrived here last week Wednesday until today, which is a fairly long period in this area, so we've all been longing to see this beautiful cat. For those of you who are newcomers to Safari Live, welcome on board. And just like those who joined for the first time yesterday, if you're a first-time viewer today, you've also signed in on a good afternoon. Yesterday we had the wild dog, and this afternoon at the leopard. And this specific leopard is a female that is 11 years old now, and her life has been monitored very closely. And that's one of the beauties of the Sabi Sands, because you do get to know leopards on a really in-depth basis.
unlike most other places where leopards are very shy and elusive and you'll only get fleeting glimpses of them. Here in the Sabi Sands you get to follow them closely and they let you into their lives provided you don't interfere with anything, and that's exactly what we do, and we become almost a neutral being in this environment where we're not seen as a food source and we're not seen as an enemy or competition in any way. And therefore we get allowed an insight into their lives, when they mate, how they raise their cubs, how successful they are. However, over the last few months she has been spending a lot of her time away from her older or her more regular territory, which encompasses this property that we're on. And we're not sure exactly why she has been moving off. There's no pressure from another female leopard in this area. We don't see any other tracks of a female. There's no indication that it's a female causing her to shift, which is interesting, but it could be, or could have something to do with the males in the area and dominant males, as well as the fact that she has just kicked a two-year-old, just over 2 years old now, sons out from her family, as they do at about 18 months to 2 years, in order to be able to free up her time to raise the next litter. So possibly she's trying to get away from them because they've been stealing a lot of her food, which makes life difficult for her. Anyway, at the moment she's not providing much of a show for us, and you can barely even tell that there's a leopard just in front of us. So it might be worth crossing over to Mark, and at some stage this afternoon she will get up. If we knew when, we would have come at that time, but sadly we don't, so we have to sit here and wait, which is perfect. We're in a little shady spot, so we've got lucky that we can film from the shade, and we will just wait for her to wake up. And there's usually a few indicating signs: yawning, stretching, cleaning, before they do get active, and we'll try and show you that whole process. So it might be worth crossing over to Mark and seeing how his adventure's panning out, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Wendy. I believe Scott found Karula again. That's fantastic. Although being quite a hot afternoon, she is liable to stay pretty sedentary, stay pretty quiet this afternoon. Generally speaking, it's not always the case, and it's quite possible that she could move at any moment. I'm sure Scott might just decide to stay there for a little while just to observe. Of course, what's happening is the afternoon is cooling down. The sun's getting lower, and there's a possibility that she might start moving. If anything came near her, like a steenbok or a duiker or some impala or anything like that, it's possible that she might go into sort of a hunt mode, or stalking rather, before hunting. Not reading Scott, no. Well, Scott was trying to get me. But that's because I was in a look. Okay, cool. So, Karula's a flat cat. Got that. I've got that. Thanks, Alex. Good news in there. A lot of buffalo here, Chelapan, lots, not a lot, so 3 big buffalo bulls. And I would like to just go and follow up on some news, actually. Sorry. Brian. because we're going to be seeing more buffalo. Every waterhole that we're going to drive past, every mud wallow, we're going to see buffalo this afternoon. It's been a nice hot day. That's what buffalo do. And well, they are extremely interesting animals, because everything is. I think it'd be nice to see more than just buffalo this afternoon. But there's word that there was some lion that crossed over onto Djuma, and since lion can be pretty time-consuming tracking, I'd like to make my way over there to see if we can find out if I can pick up on their tracks, see where they might have headed to. And we're going to go via Treehouse Dam, which is another waterhole, and another area where it's likely to be some buffalo. And if these lion came across close to that waterhole, and as there are typically or usually buffalo there might have been a confrontation, to put it mildly. Now, we've seen Karula hunting in the daytime, and I have to be honest, I've on many occasions seen leopard hunting in the heat of the day, and part of that is because there is less chance of other or competitive predators from being less chance of them being around. As I say that, we're going to look for lion that are not very far, might not be very far from where Karula is. But the thing is that they're likely to be flatter than Karula is right now. Karula the vehicle battery as well as the bank of batteries that's low. Guys, I'm just thinking that powering down the jigger is not going to help the jigger battery. Couple of things. Confirm standby. Oh, I see. Not any specific. There's a good question from Steve in Boston. I thought you were just referring to one antelope, but Steve's asking, what is it that determines whether something's called a buck or a doe or a bull or a cow or a ram or a ewe? I can only speak for our antelope, Steve, and our bovids rather, all of our bovids here in Africa. And it's pretty much size that determines denoting whether it's a bull or a ram or a cow or a ewe. And fun enough, the Nyala is the weird one of them all. Not only do they have that difference in appearance, the male and the female, but the male is called a bull and the female is called a ewe. Whereas with almost all your other bovids, when there's a bull there's a cow, and when there's a ram there's a ewe. So it can be a little confusing. Here are a couple of impala rams, and there's a big kudu bull, and there are a couple of buffalo bulls. So the smaller ones, like the impala, we call rams. That lovely big kudu is known as a bull. We don't have deer in this part of Africa. We do have deer that have been imported on some private properties, especially down in the Cape. They've actually become feral. We refer to them as feral, or just alien invaders. Some roe deer, I think they are. Fallow deer, that's what they are, not roe. And in the deer world, it's different. Because then you have a stag or a buck. You tell me, Steve. What is the difference between a buck and a stag? And then a doe or a deer? Doe, Remy. So far, Lottie. Oh, getting a little sparring session going. Well, just as I thought, there are some buffalo bulls here, but nice to see that there are a lot of other antelope too, kudu and impala. If there were any lion around, either they haven't been noticed because they're fast asleep, or they're not anywhere near the dam, but I'm still going to go and look for some of their tracks. Interesting question, Teresa. A very good question. Oh, impala ran coming dashing this way. I wonder why he stopped. No, impala rams, little youngster, 1-year-old, 18-month-old, came dashing out of nowhere. Teresa's asking an interesting question. What's the policy? And this is in relation to the fires that have happened in Cape Town. And I had to, actually, before I get to your question, Teresa, Brian, can I point out a dragonfly? That lovely drop wing, blue drop wing on the tip of that branch with the wattle behind it. There was a fire in Cape Town many years ago that was, they somehow proved, and I don't know how they did it, but an English tourist dropped a cigarette that started a fire on Table Mountain that actually killed somebody, and they held him liable for it. And because it is such a sensitive environment, one would think that there is actually a policy, or there should be a policy regarding smoking out on game drives. And I've noticed some of the landowners out here, I even had to pick up some cigarette butts from them. But they weren't burning. But yes, all it takes is a cigarette butt to get a fire going. And well, there should be, but as far as I know, there isn't. And I think most guides are not likely to smoke in front of their clients anymore. Anyways, there's a very beautiful little blue drop-wing dragonfly. And we got zebra coming. Excuse me, I'm just going to talk to one of the landowners. Hi.
Hello Mark, how are you?
Very good, and you?
Good, thank you.
Did you manage to get Scott?
Hello, the others.
If you go toward, you know where more or less that is? Where the site is? There, if you go more towards Zoe Rebecca's road,
Yes, I know where that is.
on Philemon's cut line,
Right.
to the west, there should be a branch in the road, and head south from there. Let me just contact, oh, I don't know if I
On
can.
Rebecca's Road.
No, coming off Philemon's cut line.
Okay.
So,
I got Philemon's Scotland and then I came this way.
did you not, well, you must have come past where he went
I
off.
got through the dip and then up.
Oh, okay. Carry on west,
Yes.
on Philemon's cut line,
Right.
towards that Zoe's or Rebecca's now.
Yes.
Used to be called Zoe's, now it's called Rebecca's.
Yeah, there's part of Zoe's as well in
Yeah.
Rebecca, but I know where it is. Rebecca goes all the way back there.
Yes, and then it comes back to Philemon's cut line.
Yes.
But anyways, so back west along Philemon's cut line, there should be a quarry in the road.
Okay.
And if you go south from that quarry, Scott's in there somewhere. I'm going to just find out if he's got Scott come in. Scott. I'm sure he had a handheld. Scott, come in. I know. Every time Alex talks, Scott talks, and I can't hear either one of them. We've got two radios.
What voice was that?
That would have been Scott's.
Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, any station copy. One standing by for Scott?
East of Rebecca's, west of.
Okay, thanks Scott. Copy that? Okay.
All right.
Okay, I appreciate it. Copy that. I'll see if I can find out.
Scotty, I am reading you. I'm at Trias Dam, heading to. Bye. Okay, I've got to go. I'm on.
I want to go that way and make my way there.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay. No, the game drive radio is working fine. I was just talking to Jan. Yeah, he's going to make his way to your lock if you can help him in there. Sorry, Alex, I wasn't copying much.
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back in the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us. Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
Just to explain a little bit, we had one of the landowners pull up behind us while we were sitting on the dam wall at Treehouse Dam. So I was chatting to him. I think you might have heard an android chirp, one of their androids that went. And needed to have a little bit of banter on the radio. Sometimes maybe it's only you only hear me talking, and I think some people think I'm talking to myself. I know I do talk to myself a lot. But a lot of the time I'm talking on the radio, or I'm talking to the radio. On the radio, to the radio, to other people. Although I have to be honest, sometimes when I talk on the radio, it still seems like I'm talking to myself because I don't get any answer. And so we'll go back to Treehouse Dam soon. Because while we were there, I could see some zebra wanting to come down to drink, but zebra are pretty nervous. And I was wondering if it wasn't a zebra that I'm looking for at the moment. We're looking for zebra, we're looking for giraffe. Right now there were reports of some lion that came onto the property around about here, so I want to see if I can't find some cat tracks. Give me something to do on the hot afternoon, away from the dams and away from the drainage lines where it's still quite warm. Probably not much happening. Oh, is that a leopard track? Yep. Buffalo. I think before I drive over tracks, we're going to take a quick look, walk around and see. I don't pick many things unless I'm going to demonstrate something or unless I want to show you something important. But, well, this is quite a prolific ground creeper that we have here. Quite a prolific plant that, well, since that was growing close to where the edge of the road was, it's going to be driven over anyway. In fact, the ends of it have already been driven over, so I didn't feel too bad about picking it. Oh, in the shade. That is known as the devil's thorn, and if we look at this little thorn here that I picked off, bless you.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
That's okay. But you're allergic to devil's thorn? Or the devil?
Both.
You can see, I'm putting my shadow on it. Let's get up here. That's better. So there's this lovely little seed. It's known as Dicerocarium. Di meaning two, ceros referring to those two little horns, carium meaning the seed or the fruit. I'm not too sure which. However, just an interesting plant in that it's a very important plant in terms of holding the soil or the sand together. So it does assist with erosion to a large extent. Very interesting flower in that, if you can have a look carefully at the lines and the patterns going into the mouth of the flower, those appear pink and purple to us, but if you were a bee or an insect, or the very insect that is supposed to be pollinating this flower, you'd actually be seeing through your eyesight a completely different color, because insects see through ultraviolet, and through ultraviolet that would probably highlight those purple lines. Those purple lines would probably become bright orange or something. They'd be like landing lights for an insect, to show an insect where it needs to go to collect the little prize and in the process pollinate the flower. Interestingly, this plant is a very good I need to get away from Brian. I'm going to take a few of the leaves off. I'm going to show you. I have personally used this in the rivers, washing in rivers. I've used this plant as a soap, as a source of soap. If I can get a little bit of water, excuse me. I should have melted enough by now. Add a bit of water. Rub vigorously. And suddenly you get a very, very soap. Listen to this. Can you hear that? Does it sound like soap? Does it look like soap? It looks like goo. It is. It's very gooey, very slimy, but it's also very soapy, and it's a very, very good soap. And it being plant with natural plant tannins and things, it's a bit of a moisturizer too, I suppose. But a healthy way to clean the hands. Now all you got to do is wait for it to dry to get all the sticky and sliminess away, because I'm not going to be able to grip the steering wheel. It's going to slide out of my hands. That's what shorts are for. Anyway, very pretty flowers. And there's a bee. There's a bee. Although the bees come to the leaf and climbing up the flower. It's the smallest, one of the smallest bees in the world. Maybe it'll come back. Did you get it?
Not really.
Not really. Because it's so small. It is coming back. It's probably picking up the moisture from me. I got a lot of these bees at home. They were the only other honeybee that we get. But they're stingless bees. And they're tiny. They're about the size of the head of a pin. Now, you see that I walk around barefoot a lot because I love it. Various other reasons. But this is one of the biggest dangers to a barefoot in the bush. That's still green, so the tips of the horns on the seed itself are still pretty soft. Well, actually they're quite hard. They would still hurt. But what happens is this then dries out and becomes a very hard and very woody seed pod with those two horns that actually stick to the hooves of animals. And that's the way of dispersing the seed. Because also what happens is eventually it starts wearing out of the hoof, And if you can see how it's the shape of it is like a spade or it's like a boat. And what happens is it gets pushed into the sand, and then the sand fills up around into this little bowl of the seed. And then that's when it falls out, it's actually buried in the ground a little bit, rather than just to continually be walked around by animals. So it's a very ingenious adaptation of this plant. Being a ground creeper, being an important plant that needs dispersal, finding a unique way to do that is most intriguing. Hot day, cold water. Anyway, now that my hands are pretty dry from the sliminess of it, they're quite clean. Cleaner than they were 5 minutes ago. Devil's Thorn. And a flower for the ladies. And please don't think... Oh, hang on, Alex, just got to get my earpiece in. Forgot. Yes, here we go. There are no lion tracks, no leopard tracks. Well, speaking of barefoot and thorns, I think that's your answer, Angela. Angela in Massachusetts was asking about walking around barefoot. I think the dangers that are posed to me walking around barefoot are minimal compared to the advantages and the joy and or to put it the other way, the joy of walking barefoot far outweighs the risk of stepping on a thorn or a stinging something or a biting something. Most of the time I'm quite conscious of where I'm putting my feet. It doesn't always work, and one of the worst things to step on, one thing that I do step on a regular basis. I wonder if we should look at these flowers in the sun or the shadow. Got another flower, because we have them. Every time I see a flower, I just have to at least catch a flower for the ladies, because here's the best flower on this bush. And they're fading. They're not really doing very well because there hasn't been much rain. I'm going to leave it to Brian to find the best. This is the monkey pod, or Senna sanguiana. I think it's a sanguiana. Some reference to blood. I'll find that out soon. Anyway, it's getting back to my feet. The long white thorns of acacias, I sometimes miss them. And being long and white and thin, I suppose colour doesn't matter. Pain is the same. And they very often break off inside, so it can be painful for a while. Yellow flowers of the senna. There might be others flowering better. I can't see any insects or anything around them. It's a little bit breezy though. I like to feel the earth beneath my feet. Who sang that? I feel the earth move under my feet. I feel the sky come tumbling down. Diana Ross? No? Who was that? Somebody help, please. I feel the energy of the planet. I live for this. This is what I am. If I'm not here at Djuma, I'm doing what I'm doing here at Djuma. I do it at home, except I don't have a camera at the back of the vehicle. I do it on my own, or I do it with friends or visitors that come and visit my home, and we go out and we drive around. And it's not all about filming and photography, it's just all about living. And of course most of it is all about just being out there in the bush, and especially trying to find an elephant and spending time with elephants, and of course everything that comes along with being in this world where you can spend time with elephants, because to me I live for that. I am on this planet for that. So living this life that I live, I like to feel the ground. I like to put my feet where elephant have put theirs. Sometimes I put my feet, my footprints next to those of lion or giraffe. But most important of all, I love to step where elephants have stepped. I like to be a part of their world. I am a part of their world. So how I can explain it better, I don't know, or expand on that. I have a couple of anomalies on my feet that make my feet very broad, that make shoes very uncomfortable, and I do wear sandals quite a lot every now and then. When I go to town, sometimes I feel self-conscious going barefoot into the bank, or especially into the doctor's rooms or businesses. So, well, I just like to be barefoot. Anyways, we're going to go over to Scott. It sounds like Karula's starting to move, and also it sounds like there are a lot of vehicles out there that might... Carole King, thank you. I should have known that. Or for the album Tapestry. That comes to mind. Carole King, Tapestry. Loved that album. So let's go to Scott. Karula's starting to move. He might have to leave the sighting soon because there are a lot of vehicles coming out that are going to want to see Karula. So we're going to cross over to Scott, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. We're going to go and see what there is at Twinde.
Good afternoon and welcome back. Thankfully it didn't take very long for her to put her head up, and she's just done a little bit of grooming, which as you can see she's continuing to do, and that's normal behavior for them before they get active. So very good prospects for the near future. But on the same breath, it's not uncommon for them to wake up like this, start grooming themselves, and then go back to sleep for a while. So quite similar to how even us as humans wake up in the morning. Sometimes we delay things and are a bit slow to start with. And we've got one other vehicle joining us in the sighting at the moment, so it's not just us here. And they're also very happy to see Karula. So it's incredible that we can share this with people right here amongst us, as well as with you guys all dotted across the world. And there's a third vehicle, Andrew, from Cheetah Plains, who's going to be coming across to join us, but he's still quite a way off, so we'll just have to keep him updated on what happens here. You may hear a slight radio crackle. I'm just using a handheld radio to get updates from the other vehicles and also keep them updated, because the vehicle on this radio exploded a few days ago. So, oh, there she goes. She's giving us a little bit of attention. But now back to making herself look pretty, which is also fine, because when she does get up, we want her to be looking sleek. Interesting. Will she get up and go from the first awakening? We're not going to reposition the vehicle now, because she could equally flop back down into the same position, so just bear with us for a moment or two. And it is quite nice to be able to have a look at how her coat is actually made up of a combination of spots lower down on her body, and then as it goes up towards her spine, rosettes become the more prominent marking, with the little golden tinge in the circle of that black rosette. And all unique and individual. If we had another leopard and sitting next to it at the same angle, you'd notice quite interesting and remarkably different markings when you compare two side by side. The other vehicle, when they arrived, they asked us how full-bellied she was looking, and it's something that's important for you to know as well, because that obviously has an impact on her behavior. So this morning when we saw her, we didn't have too many great visuals, and I was on camera and I was concentrating so much on what I was doing there, I was barely focusing on how she was looking. But she did seem kind of medium. She wasn't full-bellied, she wasn't hugely hungry. So she possibly had a small kill recently or finished off a bigger kill a few days ago, and that's still sustaining her. But she's not overly full-bellied, which is certainly better for us and the likelihood of us seeing her do something. She's just stopped and really locked her focus on something. I wonder if she can see something. Let's watch what happens here. No? False alarm. She may well use the facilities shortly. Or just lie down again. Sorry, Andrew. Got in the way there a little bit.
There's quite a few trees in the way anyway.
Yeah. Well, even though there's a brief glimpse of her on the move, it certainly does portray a different image when they are standing up and on the move. They're really such beautiful cats. I wonder if I can go all the way around there and get a decent view. It's going to be tricky, but might be worthwhile. There's just one branch that I'm concerned about. Copy that, thank you, Mark. Excuse me for a second, I'm just going to get a hold of Andrew quickly. Apparently he's looking for me. Andrew for Scott.
Alright, Scott, I can copy you now. Scott, on Plymouth, Kaplan, where are you exactly? Close to Drum Road or close to Zoe?
Closer to Zoe's, about 150 meters or 100 meters east of Zoe's. You'll see a small terminalia branch and vehicle tracks heading south into the block.
Okay, so you guys mobile by now?
Negative, she's got up and laid down again, but her head is still up. I'm happy for you to reposition first. Where are you planning on going? You go there and I'll go all the way around. How's that sound? Happy with that? Cool. I'll get out the way first. No, I'm happy. You can go a bit forward and we'll go all the way around. It's easier for us to maneuver than for you. So we'll find another spot. Thanks, Jan. Oh. Sorry, Andrew. Just going to do a big loop around and go to the completely opposite side of where she was. The reason why is because she's facing in that direction, and it also allows Johan and the other vehicle to get a good view, and it'll be a little bit easier for us to maneuver than for him, because our vehicle is so small and compact and maneuverable compared to his long game viewer. It's win-win for everyone, provided we can get to the spot that I planned to. Attacked by the vegetation here, it appears. They're putting up a little bit of a fight, but we are avoiding most of the sensitive trees when we do this, and the trees that we do drive over are often very flexible, so we know that they're just going to pop straight back up again. It sounds a lot worse than it is. There's quite a lot of grass in front of her face, but let's see what Andrew can do with this. What's going to make it tricky is that I guess the grass is in the sunlight in the foreground. But there she is with her head down again, and again we will just continue waiting patiently for her and hope that she decides to get active sooner rather than later.
Where are you on?
Yeah, and we're here with Karula. You can see your audio on the track now. Well, Johan's kindly taken over controlling the sighting and helping Andrew in. So that's very kind of him, because he knows we are live now, so now I can focus on you, and he's taken over communicating with Andrew to make sure he doesn't waste any time getting to the sighting. And like I did say, it's not uncommon for them to wake up, bring themselves a little bit back to sleep, maybe 2 or 3 times before they build up enough of a desire to move. Alex, just tested my earpiece. I jiggled the input cable a little bit. John in Connecticut, good afternoon and welcome on board. John is asking whether female leopards can give birth throughout their life, or if at some point in time they will stop being able to reproduce. And as far as I know, the oldest leopard, or one of the oldest leopards that I've heard of, she's definitely heard something, John, so let's just watch what she does here. But I will continue to answer your question, but just watch her body language closely. And Andrew's poised and ready for anything to happen. But one of the oldest leopards I heard of was, I think she grew old enough, or grew to the age of 22 years. So quite old. They say 18 is typically a very old leopard in the wild. And I'm fairly certain that up to a point they can give birth, but there certainly will be a cut-off, just like humans. I think most animals will be fairly similar with regard to that. There will come a point where all they're worrying about is to hang on and survive for themselves, and know that reproducing is not a viable option. It can be quite tough for older predators, because they typically don't form part of a food chain. They are not eliminated at an age that necessarily makes sense. So you can have old lion and old leopard that really suffer in their later years, battling to hunt, battling to compete for territory, and at that stage of their life, it's, like I say, highly unlikely that they would even consider giving birth. Whether or not they could, in terms of their mechanics of their body, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm certain there will be a cut-off point. Good question though, John, and won't it be interesting for us to follow the life of this leopard that we're looking at right now? As I mentioned earlier, she's 11 years old, and like I say, could live for another 7 years. That wouldn't be an abnormally old leopardess. The males tend to have a slightly shorter lifespan than the females due to more violent nature and a lot more confrontation with other male leopards. But won't it be interesting to see how long she lives for, and also how many more litters she gives birth to. So good question, John, and thanks for sending that through. Well, whatever she did share back there, she's no longer concerned about, and happy to put her head back down. As Brent was saying this morning, it's incredible how a lot of the animals out here can utilize their ears independently and have one listening in front and one listening at the back. And what you can all do is a simple test to see how well it works. If you just cup your hands and put them facing backwards against the regular flow of your ears, and then cup them behind your actual ears and point them forward, you'll notice how incredibly different the audio is and how much louder it becomes when you do cup your hands behind your ears and increase the size of your satellites. And you can then imagine kind of how it would be for animals. I hope I described what I'm doing correctly. If not, I'll have to get Andrew to zoom out and film me doing an impersonation, which will be quite funny. But I'm sure you've all got the idea. And sadly, we can't see her ears now very clearly. Well, I can't at least. But you may notice them twitching, swiveling from forward to back. Well, something that we can all hope for to happen is for one of her sons, either Djuma rather, or Quarantine, at just over 2 years old, and she has officially booted them out of the house, so she no longer fends for them as she used to. They do still linger in her territory, and they often, when they know she's around, they'll track her down and follow her, hoping that she'll make a kill. She's a far more successful hunter than they are, and I've yet to see her with any of those two siblings. And wouldn't it be wonderful to see her with either one of them, or the jackpot would be both. 3 fully grown leopards. They'll be considerably larger than her. It is something that could happen. It's something that I have been talking about for quite some time now. And every time she picks up her head and looks out in any direction, I think, has she heard one of her cubs returning? But it could be any noise that she would pick her head up for. I'm just hoping that one of her sons is going to pop up onto the scene. Well, I'm not sure what you think, but watching these little blades of grass blowing in the wind with the leopard as the canvas is quite soothing, and you can feel yourself drifting away into faraway places and random thoughts. That's what's happening to me. And there is, as you can see, a small breeze blowing, and it's a cool, crisp breeze, which is a welcome relief after the seriously hot and humid summer we had out here. Well, folks, as soothing and enjoyable as watching the sleeping leopard in amongst this golden grass, let's cut back to Mark and see what he's been up to for the last while. I'm sure he's found something interesting for you by now. So, until this cat gets active, over to Mark.
Well, good afternoon again from another patch of Djuma Game Reserve here in South Africa, and lovely afternoon, perfect afternoon in fact. I've been doing a little bit of a trip around different dams and waterholes that we have here at Djuma, most of them showing the same symptoms of antelope, hippo and buffalo. We arrived here, we have this hippo who had a very big terrapin on his back, and a buffalo sitting in front of us. But interestingly, while we've been sitting here, there's a bird calling in a big jackalberry off to our left, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to hear it. Are you picking it up on the mic? Okay, I'm going to be quiet while we watch the oxpeckers, who were all on the buffalo. They've just flown to the hippo, I think mostly because they wanted to drink. They were drinking a little while ago. But listen to the sounds around us, and you're going to hear a sound intermittently. It just was now very soft. And again. So now we have to go and look for the bird that's making that sound, because that's going to be a very special thing to see while the kingfisher dives in and has a bath. I might send you back to Karula while I look, but you know, maybe it'd be fun to see. We're going to try and change our angle to the tree so that I can triangulate a little bit better to the sound that's coming in. I'm thinking that it's coming from that big jackalberry. And that would make sense because these birds love the darkness of giant jackalberries. But I'm thinking it also might come from the jackalberry behind that big leadwood over here. There's a big leadwood. We were watching monkeys in this big leadwood, that leadwood, and then there's a knobthorn next to it and the jackalberry at the back of it. We were watching monkeys have a good time there the other day, and I don't think there are any monkeys. Oh, the baboons. I just heard a baboon screaming. So, not going to be easy to find this feathered friend, but maybe we'll hear it again, and maybe I'll get an idea of where it is. And well, maybe there's a buffalo to look at in the meantime. We'll just go a little bit forward. He's going to become visible in a minute. Oh, he's far away. He's down the drainage line. He's not in the jackalberry. So we've got to go into the riverbed. Bye-bye, buffalo. We're going in search of a wise old bird and ask him the meaning of life. Bye-bye, jackalberry. Sounds like you're having a wonderful time this afternoon with Karula. And it's very special to be with her. She isn't utilizing her. This is an old territory where we are now. We followed Karula since she was a cub herself, and she's even been down this very drainage line on many, many occasions. Now, but there's some impala up ahead of us. Let's listen for the bird and the question. Sorry, I've got to move again. Birds calling after the drainage line. Should be able to get up here, he thinks. Blair was asking a question if leopards can have triplets. Has it ever been recorded? I seem to recall leopards having triplets. Somewhere in the recesses of my mind. Something to look into, Blair. But yes, I think they do. How tight are those terminals on them? Call again, please, bird. hence the terminals. Can't hear this bird anymore. It's a giant eagle owl. Might even be as far back as a tree, much further back. I was just listening to banter between Alex and Scott and trying to give my 2 cents worth. Alright, we're going to give it a minute. I know there is an owl that hangs around here. I haven't seen it. I've heard of some of the game drive vehicles that have seen it. And that was the closest I came today because I heard it and it seems to be calling from somewhere here, but now it's stopped. Tomorrow is another day, and I think it's something we can look forward to maybe in the days to come. For the eagle owl and twin dams, see how that goes over the next few days. And maybe one of these days we'll be lucky. I thought maybe why not? Let's see what's in the riverbed on a hot afternoon, down in the shade in the soft sand. Bachelor boys, bachelor herd of impala. That's only Wednesday. But there was a francolin that alarmed. That's off very far away. Impala and eating, they all looked in that direction. So there is some. Fortunately though,
Welcome back, and apologies for the break in signal from Mark's vehicle. As you can see, not much has changed here. However, the sunlight is beginning to shine onto the side of her face, which is really beautiful to see. That golden afternoon light on her coat. I'm hoping it won't be too much longer before she gets up. I don't think it will be, but only time will tell. Andrew has made his way into the sighting now, so there's 3 of us here, all waiting patiently for her to do something. We were lucky, we've got into the best spots out of the 3 vehicles, so a bit of fortune there. Andrew, who made it in last, has not been so fortunate, so he's just waiting patiently, just like us, as he does know that she will get up, and that's the view he really does want to show his guests. So I believe Mark had found a hippo with some oxpeckers on it. It's interesting how you can really be treated to such different sightings on the same game drive at the same time, all live, switching between the two vehicles. And who knows, in the future, if there are any more projects, we may have more vehicles. So exciting prospects lie ahead for Wild Earth and Safari Live. And look forward to seeing where it grows, because it really would be wonderful to try and showcase some other wonderful wilderness destinations, not only in Africa but all around the world, to all of you, the viewers. Sadly, my monitor is not working for some reason, so I'm not getting the shot that Andrew is showing you. But hopefully it will sort itself out. Excuse me. I was speaking of her two oldest offspring, Djuma and Quarantine, earlier, and in the past few months they have been the leopards we've seen more than any other, and I really would like to see both of them again. And it would be interesting to know how far they are from us at the moment. They were last seen together on a property to the south of us, and they were both feeding on a kill simultaneously. I'm not sure what they managed to take down, but that was the last update we had of them, and it's quite interesting that they were together, because typically they do spend time apart. Well, you may have heard a vehicle starting up, and that's Andrew. But it doesn't really matter where exciting if she comes across any potential prey or predators. So if you had any plans, it would be worth trying to get out of whatever you were supposed to be doing for the next hour. Looks like she's got a bit of blood on her neck there. I'm just going to get my binoculars out on the right-hand side of her neck. I don't know if I was seeing things. It's a bad angle from here. Yeah. Excuse me, there certainly is some blood on the right-hand side of her neck. That could be from anything. Quite a hard place for her to groom herself where the blood was. And if we do see the other side of her neck again, we'll probably notice some of that. So I'm not sure what it could be from. Possibly from a kill she made, or possibly she got ever so slightly wounded. There you can probably see it a little bit better. Or am I imagining things? Andrew, can you see it there? Or is it difficult for you through that smaller monitor? It must be. Well, if she goes up the tree, that'll be great. I don't think she necessarily will. She was looking up the tree earlier and sniffing around. I wonder if she hasn't stashed a kill at the base of it. Not likely, but let's wait and see. Have you got a decent angle there, Andrew?
Can go foot forward.
Okay, we'll just see when she decides to go. If she goes up the tree, that would be a pleasant surprise. Quite an easy tree for her to climb because there's an initial break in an old branch that could act as a stepping stone for her. Not that leopards have any trouble climbing trees, but this one would be easy. She was sniffing the tree then, flaring her lips up, which opens up excuse me, which opens up an organ known as the Jacobson's organ, and it helps process scent and smell. Now, I'm wondering if she'll scent mark against this tree. I'm guessing she might, but she's obviously smelling the scent of another leopard that's passed through this area, and therefore curling up her lips and almost looking like she's snarling. But she's not snarling, she's simply processing the smell. And sorry, watch out here. And aren't we lucky? A leopard on the move is something that we always hope to be able to share with you. It's been a long time since I have. And she's heading in a direction that suits us for now. Back into the center of Djuma, as opposed to either one of our southern boundaries or western boundaries, which are quite close to us. All good, Andrew? Yep. Cool. Sorry. Again, sniffing intently, so another leopard must have passed by here. That's catching her attention. Or possibly not necessarily a leopard, it could be another animal, a source of prey potentially. But I would guess that it's another leopard that's passed through here. Maybe one of her sons, Djuma or Quarantine, or possibly Mvula, the dominant male of this area. There's also another big male called Tingana that also does overlap a little bit into this area, but we see Mvula more commonly than Tingana. opportunity to just loop a little bit ahead of the direction she's heading, and that way giving the other vehicles a small chance to also have a decent view of her. So bear with me, but it's only fair that we try and share this out as much as possible. And I know that where she's heading is going to be out into a big open clearing, which is just in front of us here. And let's just rather wait for her here, let the other vehicles view her for now from where they are. Maybe we can stand by here. Have you got any idea where she is at the moment, Andrew?
It's a negative.
Okay, not to worry, she will continue towards us, I'm sure. A lot of vehicles have started up, so that sounds promising, although they are reversing, which is not promising. Pop up, but I just want to make sure we've got as much of this golden sunlight behind us as possible. It's going to make for a really beautiful shot. So she has continued as we hoped she would, and you're going to get a great visual of her. So she's started moving parallel to this road that we've just come out to, which is fine, but it does mean she's veered off considerably from the northern direction that she was heading in. But we're in a favourable spot here because, oh, look at that. Just to be able to reverse as she comes towards us is a unique occurrence, but it's really wonderful to be able to show you. And there's a little termite mound that she's also heading to. She's not far away from it at all, maybe 50 yards, 50 feet. And let's see what she does here. If I'm in the way there, Andrew. She's crossed straight over. And again, that's not a problem because we're in a very maneuverable vehicle, and we'll continue to try and follow her for as long as we can this evening. That's just great, folks. And she's scent marking quite profusely. She did the same thing on the marula tree just before she continued walking down the road. And that's obviously the plan for her. She hasn't been here for a long time that we know of. And because of that, she may be very focused on scent marking, re-establishing that this is her territory, letting other leopards know she's around. Now, what I learned this morning is that being the cameraman and filming an animal off-roading when we're bouncing around like this is very difficult. So bear that in mind if the shot is shaking from side to side. It's the vehicle's fault, and Andrew's got no way to counteract that. Look at this beautiful golden afternoon sunlight. Let's hope she tucks into it again. Oh, perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. Can I get my camera ready in time? No. Okay. I'm going to keep moving forward, and there we can see. Sorry Andrew, but you did just scent mark on that tree again. We'll have a little bump here. Gosh, I'm feeling she's going to get really involved with this. Look at this. This is really beautiful. And often when they find the opportunity with a fallen down tree like this, they really do give it a good rub. And more scent marking there, you can see. Beautiful. Well, what I'm trying to do is take the path of least resistance to get us into an open clearing that I know that she's heading towards, or a relatively more open area. So, again, bear with me for a few seconds as I concentrate on getting us into a spot where we shall get a great shot of her. Probably got about 10 more minutes until the sun sets. There is a chance that she's going to come up onto this termite mound, and if she does, come on Karula, we're hopefully going to get a beautiful view of her peeking her head over the other side. They'll use it as a vantage point. Fairly, oh, here she comes. Look at this. Oh, we're on the wrong side, but we can creep forward a little bit. Too slow. And again, she's scent marks on this beautiful big jackalberry tree. Wasn't that just an incredibly great shot of it walking towards us through that beautiful golden afternoon sunlight in the grass, and then up onto the termite mound. Things are going really well, and let's hope this can continue. Again, because we know where we are, I'm not going to follow her directly, and just like Andrew, who's come out onto the road here, now, and heading towards that direction. There's another termite mound that I think she's heading towards. So let's just wait here and hope she does the same thing. So Andrew, be ready on the top of that termite mound in the golden grass. She could well pop up there.
Hi everybody. Brian and I have been doing something quite unique, and we've been balancing the moon on some dead trees. The most beautiful moon rising. We'll try and get that as soon as we get out of the dip. Seems you are having some fun with Karula, but unfortunately he's somehow lost the Scott. Lost signal from his vehicle. And now we need to find another little view of the moon. Beautiful sun going down. Just a couple of days before full moon, so it's still quite high in the sky already. There we go, we can get a glimpse of it through there. Maybe. Oh no, I think you're too high. See, I have a slightly different angle to things. What now? We're gonna find a new branch. I have to admit I'm a little bit of a lunatic. I know there are a bunch of viewers out there too who are crazy about the moon. I guess we all are as living beings. We have to be affected by it. The moon affects everything with water in. Well, I suppose not only water, but we are mostly made of water, and well, we can't help but feel the pull of it. Once again, it's not going to work, I don't think. See, it's very different. Multiple moon rises. Sorry. We're getting better angles. Let's see what we can do. It'd be nice to get closer to Gowrie Dam, since we don't have the camera there. And I think there are often zoomies who watch the rising moon when it does come up over Gowrie Dam. Spent a bit of time with Impala. There was some baboon with them. I thought that the baboon might end up at Twin Dams, so we sat there at Twin Dams waiting for them for a while. The hippo got out of the water and left. He just promptly marched away. Oh look, there's a nice tree. Oh, there's a nice, apart from the brown snake eagle to the left, that curve of that branch. If I can just get the angle right, forward a little bit. It'll take a while, it'll take a couple of minutes, but we'll get the moon in the crook of that elbow. But I can watch, I can very pretty, but this is what is the beauty of living out here and driving around, is that we have so many beautiful skeletons that are artworks when the moon is rising. Okay, do we need to go back to Scott?
Welcome back, and isn't this beautiful? Will she scent mark again? Yes. She missed the tree she was intending on scent marking on, but what a great sight that was, and she brushed up against this fallen down marula tree. You'll also, and she's not interested in them at all. As soon as a leopard has lost the element of surprise, it's basically pointless for them to try and pursue any prey. And I think they simply saw her before she saw them. And that was the end of that. We are heading into a very thick area here, so I'm not sure how much longer we'll be able to follow her for. Very intense. Wouldn't it be so interesting to know what it is exactly she is smelling, the information she's processing? Imagine if we could also process so much information from our noses. I guess us humans have sacrificed certain senses for other advantages over these animals, but their senses are really far superior than ours. Sight and smell and hearing, strength and speed, the size of the animal. And following it through vegetation like this should give you an idea of why it's difficult to find these animals and track them down. There's almost no way of being able to see her tracks when she's moving through vegetation like this. And you'll also notice she spends a very, very short time on that road that she crossed. So if you're not concentrating, just about 20 meters of road that she walked along, you don't know she's moved there. We have a bit of an opening, so again, just bear with me and let me try and loop around and get ahead to the next little clearing that I can see. Oh, there's a termite mound the size of a house here. think she's just going to go over there for us. We're not heading in this direction, so let's wait and see. The best spot to wait. Now it is a bit risky. I'm not even sure if the other vehicles are still in the sighting with us. But it is a little bit risky to link ahead like this because she could veer off. But so far we seem to have been getting lucky with predicting her movements, and I can see her now. She is coming into view, but difficult for Andrew on the camera. And she would have to veer off her course quite considerably to come to this termite mound. And it looks like that will not be happening. Phenomenal that tiny insects can build a structure this big with just their saliva, and it's rock solid. You could have 10 or 15 people easily standing on top there and there'd be no issues whatsoever. This is a beautiful marula tree that I'm certain she will scent mark against. So I'm just going to get into a spot that will allow for that. I've been a bit naughty. I've had my game drive channel off, so I'm going to turn it back on and just bear with any of the extra audio you may hear from it, but I do need to be able to keep the guys updated, and it is easiest for us to stay with her because our vehicle is most maneuverable. What a beautiful sighting. How are you doing with lights at the moment, Andrew?
Okay.
Okay, cool. Just shout if you want me to get any of the lights on or anything for you. Absolutely beautiful. Well, time to reposition again. It's fine by me. I could keep doing this all day if she allowed for it. Our luck may run out though in terms of the vegetation that she moves through, because they can get some points that are simply impenetrable, and it looks like she's heading into one of those spots right now. There's a monkey thorns we're driving over in there. Quite nasty little bushes. I could give us a puncture, but I'm happy to take the risk, and there does seem to be a small pathway through them that is manageable. There she is, just ahead of us. Taking us on an adventure to an area that I've never been to before, so thank you, Karula, for escorting us through your own little backyard here. I'm thoroughly enjoying it, so I hope you are too. Hold on, Andrew, it looks like we could get a little bit bumpy there. So much more that she might go up on again here, and we might have an opportunity for a great silhouette shot. So I'm going to wait here, and here she goes. Andrew Well, at least be ready for a beautiful silhouette as she breaks over this termite mound. If she continues up. Come on. There we go. Oh, didn't expect her to fall there, but some rubble gave way. And she didn't pass over the peak of this termite mound, hence no silhouette, but to establish where exactly we are when we find the nearest road, because it is hard to keep track of how far west or north we've been moving, but that has been our general direction of movement, north and west. Stuck, but hopefully not. No, we're not, which is good news. Not just yet. Now it may get to a point where we may have to decide to leave her. It is getting dark. And I certainly don't want to interfere with any other potential hunting opportunities. And when moving through very thick bush like this, understandably we may chase away some animals ahead of her. So that is something to bear in mind, and it is a decision I'll make shortly. But for now, we're still okay. And again, I hope you're all enjoying this adventure. It doesn't happen often that we get to follow the leopards around on the move during the daylight. And it's been at least a week since a leopard was last seen, to give you an idea of what we've been dealing with over the last week. Hold on, Andrew. Any idea where she is?
No visuals.
Well, I've lifted my hands in confusement, and so has Johan. It's interesting because she was moving between us. He took a path to the right of her and I took a path to the left of her. So who knows where she's gone or what she's up to. If she doesn't pop out here, which she still may well, then I think we may have to call it an evening, because we have had a great afternoon with her, and like I said, it is, oh, there she is, just popped into a small clearing. She's moved through it already, but at least we know where she is. Johan, stand by there, she's coming towards you. Copy. Just letting Johan know that Karula is heading towards him. We're in a very thick block. We north of Philemon's cut line, and just east of Rebecca's Road, I think it is, or Zoe's. We'll try and get you one last image of her, and then we'll let her be on her way. Like I said, it's getting dark and it's just so thick here. Let's try and go ahead and make it, be able to get into one more little gap. It'll be interesting to see what Mark's been up to. I can see, I'm not sure, Andrew, if you can, but she will come into view. Andrew's in a slightly different position to me, so he probably can't see her from his angle. Let me just double check that I'm actually looking at her at this stage of the evening. The camouflage is incredible. Okay.
I think she'll be coming this way now.
Hopefully she is facing the other way, I think. Yeah. Okay, one last try. We should be able to squeeze through these two trees here. Okay, that should do it though. And she is just gonna pop out. Is going to pop out. You should be able to see her now because Johan is illuminating her with their spotlight, which is helping us. And their spotlight has a nice golden tinge to it, whereas ours is quite a bright white light, so it also creates a beautiful shot when you're getting light from another angle, from another vehicle side lighting. There she goes. Well, like I say, as you've seen, it's been very, very thick here, and due to that thickness, we're gonna probably move on fairly shortly. So that's something that just happens out here, and I'm sure most of you understand why. Like I say, it's just so thick. It's getting dark, a great opportunity for it to hunt. And with us crashing through the bushes after, that's obviously going to stop that from happening. On top of the fact that it's simply going to be hard for us to get good views of her as she moves through this incredibly dense vegetation. So, I hope you enjoyed that. That was really a magical way to spend an afternoon following a beautiful female leopard through her territory, and great to see her really active in her scent marking. Not something you see every day. And we'll leave Johan and his buddy out to continue exploring and seeing what happens later. But from myself and Andrew, great job on the camera. Sadly, I didn't get to see your work because the monitor was broken for the second part of the sighting. But thanks very much. And we'll cross over to Mark and wish us luck finding the road from here, because I'm not sure where it could be. But we'll let you know shortly. See you later.
Incredible.
These are hippo angels. These hippos are just waking up. Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm sitting at Gowrie Dam, Djuma waterhole, Gowrie Dam, and Mama and her baby hippo are starting to wake up. The buffalo are starting to get active too. Some of them have been rolling in the mud, some of them have been sparring. Most of them are heading out into the bush to go and graze. They've probably got a bit of a hunger after being in the mud all day. But a wonderful evening of, oh look, something swimming here. Could be a monitor lizard. Going to swim into the moonlight. And just a wonderful evening, you know, just for a change, sitting quietly at the dam and watching life come, wake up. So what do we have? A dragon. A water monitor. Also going to swim into moonlight. So the moonbeams bouncing off of those waves. Really peaceful evening, and perhaps something we should do more often. Sometimes just sit quietly and wait for things to happen. Lovely little bit of tenderness between mama and baby hippo. For those pondies and Djuma cam watchers, getting a fix at Djuma Dam that you normally have. We're not too far from where the camera is, so we're just a little bit north of the camera, so it's almost the same view, maybe a little bit lower down. One Egyptian goose. I guess the goslings, the youngsters have all left. We did see 6 sub-adult geese at Treehouse Dam one day, and I was wondering if it wasn't the youngsters from here. So that's the main reason. You can hear the hippo in Fuzuk Dam in the distance. Wonder if she'll answer them. I guess we should see if we can go and find something else that's waking up. It's almost too peaceful to leave. By the way, Jupiter's just, we get to see just off to the left of the moon. That lovely sound, that's the water thickney that started calling now as we're leaving. There you go, Moon and Jupiter. It was here before we left. Oh, sorry, I was just looking for the spotlight. It's fallen behind the chair and I'm just trying to get it out. It doesn't get close. Okay, let's move along then. Knew it was here, I just couldn't find it. Where did you find out? Where did you find out?
Sounds like they were following us.
Did he?
Sounds like they were following us.
Did he?
Thick bush.
Now the hippo calls. Now that we leave, I can hear her calling. Well, since the day has come to an end and we have a little bit of time, what we do at this time of day, if some of you are watching, you haven't been on our drives very long, is we're now using this opportunity to try and find something nocturnal. We're not going to be really looking at anything we see during the day. So if I see impala or something, we tend to ignore them. We don't disturb them too much. I guess it is somewhat of a disturbance to see something nocturnal. Generally they tend to shy away from the lights, but we are sometimes lucky enough to see something. I don't think I suppose it is somewhat of an intrusion. Oh, it's a light. Not a... Must be someone there. One day we used to have infrared cameras. It was a big box thing. But we still had to find things with the light. Whereabout is that? Okay. Alright, good luck. Somehow somebody's just found Karula again, and evidently she's just been quite active, and I think Scott is going to try and get back to her again. It sounds quite exciting actually. I'm not going to give too much away. Stay tuned, and as soon as we got back with Karula, we'll cross over to him again. In the meantime, I'll see what I can. This is true spotting, using a spot. See what I can spot in my spot. I can see Venus. Lovely big bright star you can see up in the sky. Look at that color. It's almost like it's almost surreal. The sunset afterglow and Venus setting in the western sky, following its sister the sun. Oh no, not sister. Mother. Okay. Sounds like Scott is ready, and I think it's kind of getting dark. I'm guessing that he might not come back to us, because I think what Scott's got for you is probably just going to end us on our drive for this evening, unless of course we find something. We've still got some time to carry on looking around, and I hope we can find you something. But in the meantime, my name is Mark. I've had Brian with me on camera. It's been Ninja Wednesdays today, and thanks Alex in the final control. Thanks everybody for being part of the drive on Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Enjoy Karula.
Folks, we're just getting back into position, but would you believe it, Karula's managed to make a kill. I'm not sure what it is. We've just got back here. Johan. Yes, thanks very much, Johan. Well done. So Johan called us back and said she's just made a kill. So now we just need to try and find a spot where we can sneak in a visual. So hold on a second, and it might be an award winner with a full moon in the background. No problem. Yeah, Hans just got himself into a good spot. This one will go for us once we peek through. Are you okay there, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm in the bushes, but it's all good.
Well, look at this, folks. It looks like a steenbuck that she's managed to kill. And as we arrived, we saw a hyena already on the scene just minutes after she made the kill. So the hyena slunk off, and Karula very cleverly managed to get herself into a position that allowed her to hoist the kill up this marula tree very quickly, and you can see she might still be suffocating the steenbok just to make sure it's dead. I think she still has it in the chokehold. You can see how heavily she's panting. She's obviously exhausted from stalking and catching the animal, dragging it here. Who knows how far she had to get it through this thick bush before she knew she could get to the safety of this marula tree. And here we can see her just taking her first breaths, I'm guessing, since she's made this kill. What a beautiful sight. And, I'm going to try my monitor one last time, and it's working, thankfully. What a beautiful shot that Andrew's showing you.
See, the moon's just coming up now.
Oh, look at that. See, the moon is just coming up through the fork in this marula tree, and I'm going to try and snap off one or two photographs.
Wow, that's amazing. You can see the blood dripping down.
It could be a combination of the steenbok's blood, but also her saliva from when she had it in the chokehold. Possibly looking for safer places to hoist to wedge this kill, because it's not in a very suitable fork here. And I think she's seen this fork just up towards us. If you follow this branch towards us, Andrew, to move this kill, because where it's balancing now, it's quite precarious and could easily drop down. And she knows if it does drop down, that hyena will still be lurking around in the shadows that we saw briefly as we arrived here. And if a hyena hears a thud, it will be in at the base of this tree in seconds. Well, our decision to leave her in order for her to hunt maybe did make a difference, maybe it didn't. But if there were two vehicles crashing after her, we may well have chased away the steenbok. And look at up in the fork of this tree, just absolutely perfect. I think she's just also getting her breath back. Oh, here's the hyena right at the base of the tree here on our right. And it's going to be very difficult for Andrew to show it to you because we're surrounded by very, very thick vegetation. And I think I'm in the way.
Yeah, you'll have to shine there, sorry.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I thought your hand was shining. So here's the hyena sniffing the saliva and blood that's been dripping down, but also there's just so much to watch because now the leopard's moving right above us. So maybe go up to the leopard. Is that your limit there, Andrew?
Hey?
Is that your vertical limit? Or the bushes, your problem? No, the bushes above you are your problem. Wow, look at this, folks. The full moon, or almost a full moon rising. A beautiful female leopard in this marula tree. A hyena below. Two hyenas below. Now there's another one. And it's just slunk off the one in front of your Hans vehicle. And here's the other one at the base of the tree. Well, this really is painting a picture of what's going on exactly here. And this is a very unique sighting that I hope you are all enjoying as much as we are here. Yes, now the hyena are vocalizing. This will be really wonderful if these ones right here vocalize, because it's an incredible audio to hear from close up. The ones that we could hear calling are quite far away. I'd say half a mile or a mile. And you can see Karula looking down at the hyena. She's got nothing to worry about when she's up there. Just phenomenal for us to be able to see this interaction and ongoing between two of the supreme predators of this area, the leopard and the hyena. Oh, she's somehow, very surprisingly, managed to make herself comfortable in a fairly awkward position here. She's literally hugging onto the branch with her front legs. The hyena's back at the base of this tree, and they'll continue to sniff about, hoping to get little tidbits, or ideally hoping for the kill to drop from the tree, which does happen, and would have happened especially more often to Karula when she had her two sons, Djuma and Quarantine, with her. Because they weren't quite as, or any youngster wouldn't be quite as aware of the risk of dropping a kill down to the ground with hyena around. So it's a frustration that adult female leopards have to deal with when they do have cubs. Andrew, can you see this here? Sadly, we are on a very thick bush, but there is a hyena just meters away from us here. But we've got no meat in our vehicle, and even if we did, we wouldn't be showing it to you. Not because we don't like it, but because it's unethical to feed the animals. But it did come up and sniff us a little bit. Whew. Well, after all that action, I need to take a little moment to recap. We had kind of got halfway back to where we think the road was when Johan got a hold of us and told us that we should probably turn around and come back straight into the middle of this thick block, which we did as hastily as we could. Because she doesn't seem hugely hungry at the moment, I'm guessing that she may take some time before she starts to feed. She's going to get her breath back and is in no rush to get to the feeding. And that's the beautiful moon, a close-up of the beautiful moon that is rising in what has turned out to be a really spectacular sighting. The moon has really been the cherry on the cake. And simply the fact that with all this thick vegetation we got into a position where we could have the moon in the shot was a great fortune. it certainly will be interesting to know if she will be here in the morning. I think she will. I think she will, considering that she's not extremely hungry at the moment. I don't think she would consume this whole meal in one sitting. Could be wrong. If she was hungry, she would almost certainly finish it off in the evening, I'm guessing. But because she isn't, there's a small chance we'll be able to find her again in the morning. So that's great prospects for the next drive. Finding the spots again after having left in the dark is going to be our major challenge regarding this. And I hope you all enjoyed that great camera work from Andrew. That was a beautiful sequence. Pity her head wasn't facing us to finish off the shot from tip to toe. It's still a magical shot. It'll be interesting to see how long she manages to stay in that position. That really doesn't look too comfortable. Sadly, the marula tree that she's chosen, or she was forced to choose due to the hyena who were on the scene very quickly, it could have been that the steenbuck let off an alarm or a squeal of distress that would have brought them in so quickly. I'm guessing that is what attracted them so quickly, some kind of a distress call that the steenbuck may have let out. And it is sad and brutal to see an animal that's just had its life taken by a leopard, but it's a necessity in nature. And without this food, the leopard would obviously not survive. So a harsh but necessary reality out here. The hyena have seemed to stop slinking around, but what they may well be doing is lying up nearby. Well, as I said that, I heard a little rustle of leaves, so they could still be sniffing about, but not as intensively. They've established what's going on, and now we'll wait patiently for any tidbits to fall down.
The moon's going to come through that V, so if she goes down to feed,
it
can work out quite nicely.
So, just to keep everyone in the loop, the moon, as Andrew said, is going to pop up in the V, or the fork, that the steenbuck is lying in. So it's going to come fairly perfectly rising over the steenbuck. And if, like Andrew says, she comes down and feeds, it'll make for some incredible shots. Here comes the moon now. You can just see it peeking over the right-hand fork that the steenbuck's lying in. Is she going to do it, or is she just repositioning? Just repositioning, it appears, still getting her breath back and in no hurry to start feeding. That is the beauty of being a leopard. They are one of the few predators out here in Africa that has the joy of hoarding their kills and feeding at a leisurely pace. Here's the hyena at the base of the tree again. So still slinking about and sniffing around. Looking up hopingly at the sternbuck, and imagine how tough it is seeing a tasty meal right there but having no means of getting to it, especially with an incredibly powerful nose that they have. It must be torture. Oh, well, Karula's got into an interesting position now, a bit better for a face shot, certainly. And just hard to believe that after just making a kill, that adrenaline and that excitement, just minutes ago, having 2 or 3 hyena below you, that you still can sleep. Hard to believe, really. But as I said, she knows once she's up in the tree, she does have this unique safety that, again, most of the predators, or all of the major predators in Africa don't have. Wild dog, cheetah, lion will eat for kills as quickly as possible. I guess lions to a degree can take their time, but they are always pestered by hyena and vultures, possibly other lion, while they wait. So they still have a bit of a responsibility to defend their kill, whereas this leopard's got nothing to really worry about. Lions, I guess, could come and try and climb this tree, but they're not good climbers, and she could possibly abandon the kill, which is what they're mainly looking for, and she herself could climb out onto the thinner branches of this tree where the lions wouldn't be comfortable in getting to. So almost complete safety up there. And here's the moon, almost fully popped out into this next fork of the tree. What an incredible sight. Well, folks, like I've said, it could be hours until she starts to feed on this kill. So I think it is time for us to head back and find the road and get back to camp and be fresh for an early start and come straight back here in the morning and see what she's up to. Because at the moment, as you can see, it doesn't appear that she's going to be feeding anytime soon. And why should she? There's absolutely no reason for her to rush in and finish this kill. But thanks for staying on, and it is always great when we get to stay over time when something special and unique happens like this. So I hope you've enjoyed the extra long broadcast this evening, and what a magical way to finish another good day here on Safari Live. So to Alex in Final Control, and Mark and Brian on the other vehicle. Brian, who did a great job on camera with me this afternoon, a big thank you for making everything work out. Excuse me. And to the viewers, again, without you this wouldn't happen, so thanks for following us on these live safaris, and I look forward to tomorrow morning's adventure. It'll be myself and Brent out again on the 2 different vehicles, So until then, have a good evening and enjoy this last shot of Karula before we close.